Oh, hello there, and welcome back. Thanks for joining me today. I'm going to do a little bit of something different since my transmission parts aren't here yet. I still haven't gotten the 4L65 put together because of a bushing issue. So I'm going to jump ahead and do a little bit of other work on the body. So this morning we're going to work on the firewall. Transmission's waiting to be reassembled. The input shaft bushing on the front of the transmission fluid pump is either the wrong part or it's squeezed down. So the inner diameter is too small for the shaft that's got to go through it. So I got to pop that out, put in a new shaft. That's another video. But anyway, today, I've got to work on this front of the truck. Like I said earlier, I've got to figure out where the engine is going to end up and these motor mounts. So I need the engine and the transmission to be together and see where it's going to end up. Either I may have to cut into the firewall to push it back far enough because I have to clear the radiator support here. So I don't know as far as where the engine's going to end up front to back and how much gap. I'm going to make sure there's enough gap for the radiator and a fan, but maybe I can put the fan, make it a pusher instead of a puller, and maybe cheat a little bit. But then I don't know how much room I'm going to have out here between the front grille and the front of the body of the truck, and that gap. So I have to check back on pictures, but we'll see. So anyway, Mustang 2 front end is sitting there ready to go. And I'm going to clean up this firewall. I've got everything pulled out of it. And the blue tapes, those holes I'm going to keep. I'm going to keep the original mounts for the hood. But everything else is going to get wire brushed. And I do a little bit of work over here, wire brush, all that. And it looks like I've got some rust to straighten out here. So put a patch there. That's a main typical spot where things rust out because you're getting kickback of junk from the tires. But and same with the driver's side. But for now, I've got to wire brush the entire firewall, fill in all the holes, weld in the holes, and then put a coat of body filler over top to kind of smooth things out, make it nice. I have pulled out the hood scoop for pulling fresh air into the truck. I am going to keep that. Got new gasket material, weather stripping around the edge, but I just have to get everything kind of out of the way in order to do the body work. The whole truck has to be sanded down. I've got some rust issues here that have to be fixed. And I think that's a common spot too. I had some mouse nests in there and some wasps, so there was junk hanging up there. It got moist. It rotted from the inside out because there's no water that's really hanging in there on top of the windshield glass. So we got all the mouse houses out of there. And so there's plenty of body work to do here. This paint chips off so easy. And I did sand down the scoop, and it looked beautiful. So it was nice and clean. I'm hoping that that this metal is going to be as equally as nice. But yeah, so that's what we're doing today. And I also noticed I'm going to put in new body bushings if I even need one here. At least these bolts get replaced. The pad gets replaced. I've got to lift this in order to get paint and good stuff in between. The driver's side looks pretty good, really. There's not a whole lot to repair there. All right, so let's get to it. Well, I bought some new PPE, and I got this off Amazon, which is a full face, which I kind of like. Keep the dirt and any debris out of your eyes, plus the filtering. These are for paint filtering, but I'm going to use them anyway as a dust filter. But the strange thing is, SM, I guess that's supposed to be a 3M facsimile or there. That was interesting. Everything is by SM. It's all made in China, of course. But the goofy thing is, these filters only go on one way, and on both sides they've got them cattywampus. So I mean, it's still going to work. I'm still going to use it, but it's just kind of goofy.
Seems to be okay. I can feel air coming through when I inhale, and somehow the air is diverted up through the upper part. So, it works.
Well, we're getting there. There's a lot of work to do. Next step, I think I've got all the firewall. I'll wipe it down and then start to weld these small holes and leave these guys open where I need to fish wires through. There's eventually going to be the steering column coming through somewhere around here, but I have to wait until I get the engine in and transmission and then see where it's going to fit down. And there's going to probably be a couple knuckles off of the steering column to swivel and work its way down to the Mustang 2 front suspension. As far as the new mask, it works fine. I didn't get any fogging on the inside, although there is some kind of stuff. I guess that's just a little bit of moisture. But seemed to be fine for, I think it was, I don't know, right around 25 bucks. Well worth it. And I'll be using that when I do spot spraying and body work. That crap gets flown up into your face. So anyway, it's not bad. Now it's time to do some welding. We got some of the Swiss cheese closed up. A lot of welds. Now it's time to grind, smooth these out. I left these holes for the heater box mounts, the motor, and the lines coming out. I'm guessing I'll need that for ignition and some cables. I'm not sure what I'm going to do here. Maybe the same. I might, if it's for cables or wires, I might move it down to the lower area and then close that off. But these are for the hood. And let's see, I think, okay. I think that was for the parking brake. So, all right, time to start grinding and then sand this down and do some body fill just to smooth things out. Well, I'm going to press on here. There's a lot to do. It's looking pretty decent. Some of my welds aren't great, but it'll be fine. It's really just to patch up these holes. And then the body filler and nice sand. We'll straighten that all out. Let's see. One thing, let me take you over here. I've been getting some parts for the fuel system, and I probably should have just bought a relocation tank, but I didn't. And so I'm going to use this fuel cell. One of my other earlier videos I have showed you how I laid this out, but I put in these cross members. And I'm going to put some straps around the tank. But what I got was some fuel lines, some AN6 fuel line, and I started to plumb the tank. I don't know if you can see that very well down in here. But, and I just got this pump today. It's by Evil Energy. I'm going to give it a try. The reports on this pump are mixed. It's meant for it's a high pressure pump. So they say put the pump at the lowest point, at least below the tank. But I'm going to almost. Let me turn you around. I'm going to try to mount, and here's the bottom of my tank. It's about, I don't know, 2 inches below this bracket. And this isn't a final setup yet. I may end up raising the tank a little bit because it's just sitting there loose. Raise that up and get a pre-filter one first, which I have to buy, and then pre-filter to the pump. And this is an inline through pump, so input here, output on that side. And again, it's AN6 fittings. I think the input is AN10. But I have a box of fittings that here's an AN, it is a 10 to a 6. So I can use that to convert it down. And then, so I got to do some plumbing here. Not ready to put in anything permanent. It's all temporary for now, dry fit. And I'm not going to even run the line up on the frame up to the engine bay because I've got to do a lot of work on the body, and I don't want to dork up any of the, any of the nice stuff. So this is an old pump that I had on, I guess that came when I bought the 48 Ford pickup. I don't know, 10 years ago. This was on there, and it was so darn loud. And so we'll see what this Evil Energy pump is like. After thinking about it, I probably should have got an in-tank pump, but at least this, I can service it easy if there's a problem. There is, lack of cooling from the gasoline, and also the inline external pumps are a little bit noisier, but that's what we're going to go with. So yeah, we got doorknobs pulled off. I ordered new interior handles and ordered felt that's going to be going around the windows, weather stripping around the vent window. But I had to replace this latch because it was stuck open and it just didn't work. The passenger side is fine. So right now, I think until I get the transmission parts, I'm gonna do some body work. And I'm trying to keep my transmission and all my work table clean as possible. So I'm gonna wrap that up in plastic. So we'll be fine. But for the time being, I'm gonna get back to grinding. I wanted to paint today, but it's a little bit chilly. I think in the garage it's around 52 degrees. So I'm gonna jump to something else. I've got some parts out in the rust electrolysis, rust remover. And they're the fender brackets that help support the front fenders from flopping around. And I'm working on the inner fenders right now. So let me show you what I got. So these are still in, dirty, rusted shape. I'm gonna take them down to my buddy's sandblaster cabinet and clean them up. And also the core support. So it just needs a good going over and then repaint. But because I have the new front suspension on, these brackets are in the way, so I've got to notch out the inner fender on, let's see, just the one side, the driver's side. The passenger side, this panel doesn't have the second piece in it, and that piece it just squares this off. So I'm gonna have to trim that when I set it in there. But for now, I have to cut out, I cut this one piece. There was a section hanging down here. I have to cut this piece out and maybe do a little bit more massaging of that panel. Okay, so let's see how this fits. I had to take a pretty good chunk out of it. Okay. All right, so this side clears pretty well. Looks like I'm gonna have to take a notch this corner out. So the two will be symmetrical. And I think that'll work. Right about there. Yep. All right, let me take this out. Here's what I have some rusty metal cooking with. It's electrolysis basically, and it's a charge of moving electrons from the rusty parts of the good piece that we want to clean up to a sacrificial anode. So I've got my battery charger hooked up 12 volts to the two pieces, and the sacrificial piece is connected to the positive, and the piece I want to clean up, and I can't really see it here, it's a bracket for the fenders, and it was pretty rusty, and I have that connected to the negative side of the battery charger. The idea is then to put filled up with water, used laundry booster superwash soda. Do not use baking soda, it will not work. You have to use superwashing soda from Arm & Hammer. And do not let the two pieces of metal touch each other. So the one is just hanging separate from the other. And that will take maybe, I'll let it in here overnight and check it in the morning. So it's been in here about 4 or 5 hours so far. And you can see the rust is starting to come off of the piece and float to the top. So you want to make sure that you have enough ventilation, because it could be a problem if you have an enclosed area. So do this in the outside or in an open area. And so that's how we are derusting a couple of the parts. Good morning. It's the next morning, and we'll check on our electrolysis rust remover deal here. This is what it kind of looks like when it's cooking in there. I disconnected the battery charger, and I'll disconnect everything here, and let's have a look. You got to put gloves on because this rust will get into your hands, the pores of your hands and your skin. It doesn't do any damage to your skin, but it sure makes it dirty, especially fingernails. All right, let's see what we got. Good old rinse. Here are the pieces that were totally rust covered, and they had a bunch of undercoating on them. I got to scrape off the undercoating, but a lot of the rust come off. We'll use a wire brush and scrub them down with a degreaser. Now we'll get them cleaned up a little bit more. But that water is really murky. So this is not harmful to the environment at all. When I dump this, it's basically rust, and it's water with a detergent, the soda wash in it. So it's not going to hurt anything. Groundwater is fine. All right, let's get this over here, and we'll wash it down. It's See if we can get some of this undercoating off. So you want to make sure that the pieces that you're cleaning are electrically connected together, and also you know, make sure they're on the negative side of the battery charger. There's not too much. Yeah, a little bit of slime. So there it is. These parts look almost brand new. I mean, they're still in great condition. There's just a couple spots that kind of seem, not really nothing there. They're absolutely clean. So electrolysis to do rust remover is one way to get rid of rust on these kinds of small parts that fit into a garbage can or a small pail. So give it a try. Just have to rinse some of this stuff down. And I may have forgotten to say, as far as quantity goes of the soda wash, you can probably use maybe 2 cups for like a 30-40 gallon garbage can, and that will be sufficient enough of electrolytes in the water to improve conductivity of the electricity. So it will help the process of transferring the rusted parts, removing the rust, and then that being attracted to the anode. So that sacrificial piece of metal is going to look a lot, pretty nasty, but it's sacrificial, and it doesn't matter. So here we are. So we're going to go back. I'm going to finish cleaning this up, and I'm going to keep that bucket or that garbage can full because I might have a couple more parts to derust. But we're going to get back onto the Firewall motor mounts. I gotta cut off the old bolts, and just so I can raise the cab up a few inches so I can get at the rest of the frame underneath. I can't raise it much further because my lift is in the way, actually. So we'll just work with what we have, and so we'll do the Firewall, and then we probably have to cut out some of the tunnel at the Firewall to fit the transmission underneath there and through it. So that'll be the next steps. I don't know if that'll be this video or not, but we're gonna at least finish off that Firewall priming and get it prepped for.
There's a little bit more Firewall work and a little bit of trimming off the old paint.
This makes a giant mess. Air quality is horrible. Without a mask, there's no way you could do this. But anyway, I got partially through this door. Looks like there's maybe just a thin layer of body filler here. What I've gone through feels pretty good. I didn't overheat any area. Try to keep it cool. So moving around quickly is the key. And I don't have the paint yet for the firewall. That's why I jumped on to do some of these doors, and it's all going to be stripped anyway. But I did want to get the firewall painted and start with body filler. And then I'm going to do a fit of the engine and transmission to see how much I've got to cut. If any, I think I've got to cut some up into the tunnel area. But anyway, so today, or until I get this paint, and the type of flap sander I'm using is this is an 80 grit, and it seemed like it was the beginning. This section was pretty easy coming off, and as it wears, the flaps do wear down, and it continues to have some abrasiveness, but you got to work it a little bit more. So I might swap out these discs. I bought a pack of 12 in order to do everything on the truck. So the doors, the roof, and the back of the truck needed. I've got all brand new box and fenders, so I don't have to mess with them. But another big piece is the hood, and I've got it stuck back in there. And it's just as bad as the rest of the truck. It's really thick paint. I think I came through, and I think I think the truck was red at one time. Maybe it was white, and I think there was a gray primer. But it may have started out as white, gone to red. Down here, it seemed like it was, well, now here's some red, white and red. So, the new paint that I intended to use is, it's a 2K urethane, and the fenders are going to be black. The cab is going to be black cherry, just like the 34 Ford. And I think the box is going to be that same black cherry. So I think that should look pretty cool. But in the meantime, we've got a lot of sanding to do and some fix-it spots. The bottom of these doors both need to be fixed, but the skin of the driver's side looks pretty decent. I didn't detect any patches that had been put in there, and there's no rust coming through. Well, we finally got our sealer for it's a epoxy primer. And, well, it may not be the epoxy primer that I typically use. I typically use Eastwood's epoxy primer. But for the firewall, I'm going to use this etching primer. And that works pretty well. So let me just finish this job up and see how it turns out. Always use personal protection. firewall is done. This stuff has a harsh smell to it, so I just wanted to show you this. I'm going to now start using the body filler to smooth out all these nice little cracks, crevices that I filled in with weld. So I think for now, this video is finished. I'm going to continue to paint the rest of this bare metal, at least part of the cowling. I'm not going to touch the door yet. I believe I will definitely use epoxy primer. I had to buy some more activator, so that's coming from Summit. And I have the Part A from Eastwood, and just a little bit of the activator from Eastwood. So after I do all the flap sander on the doors and the roof and everything on the cab and the hood, I will use that epoxy primer and not use this self-etching primer. So I think that'll do it for this video, and there'll be more to come. A lot of body work to do. I still have to do the engine fit and transmission fit, so that'll be coming up. And so yeah, that's it for now. I appreciate you all watching, and your support is always appreciated. So if you like and subscribe, I appreciate that too, and hit the bell for any new notifications of new videos that I've got coming out. So, all right, thanks again, and we'll see you next time.